Ciao tutti, tutto a post, all good. Those of you that watch close, and maybe even some of you that don't watch that close, will know that we recently finally launched Pace Points, which is something we have been working on here at Pace the Wire for a while. I think we got it perfected, and I think most people that use it and use it right are going to really like it. There's a page on Past the Wire about it. You've been, if you're watching the show, seeing promos about it. But Big Race Jim talked a little bit about how it worked out in the Keeneland Mile the other day. So this isn't really a promo. This is something we pulled out of his show. Check it out. Go to the Pace Points page, check it out. I think you're gonna like it. I think it's a valuable tool, and it certainly saves me a lot of work. So Pace Points available at Pass the Wire. Finally, after that, we'll get to the Thoroughraph show and rock and roll.
What it gives you is your first fraction rank and your last fraction rank, and what that means is how fast these horses are going to be running early, right? So you have Howard Wallowitz be up on the lead. You have Epic Ride up on the lead. You have Beach Gold up on the lead. And that was freaking nailed. Like that nailed it.
They're off in the Coolmore Turf Mile. Wood Shauna broke absolute last. And there goes Howard Wallowitz out for the lead. Quattro Cento is right there to the inside. Epic Ride is up close early from the far
This
outside.
first fraction rank allows you to kind of see how this race is going to shape up. Now, does this mean Howard Wallowitz is going to be first and Epic Ride is going to be second and Beach Gold is going to be third and Donegal Momentum is going to be fourth going through the first quarter, first half mile? No. This just means this is our ranking of who we think is going to be fastest early. It's intended to be a snapshot so you can see how the pace of this race is going to set up. The last fraction rank is who's going to be running fastest late. Program trading closed fairly well. Brilliant Birdie. Rhetorical, we know, closed exceptionally well. And here's what I think is interesting. And again, one of the keys for handicapping in general is you handicap the race, you bet the race, and then you watch the race again, right? And you take notes and you see what happened and where maybe your handicapping was off, or maybe something you didn't notice something in the PPs that presented itself during the race, or whatever, right? A million different things. But you got to go back and watch, and you got to take notes. You got to try and figure out what happened. So, as I was doing that with this race, a couple of things stuck out to me. Program trading, highest last fraction rank. Makes sense. Great closer. Brilliant Birdie, another solid closer. This Rhetorical, right, at 9-1, as the third fastest closer in this race based on our algorithm and projections. That's got to get your ears to perk up. So then you look at these three, right? And what happened? You can almost tie it back to the first fraction rank. You can say, okay, if this is right, all three of these horses are going to be relatively in the same spot. Rhetorical ended up getting some better positioning, in my opinion, throughout that race. And he had first run and was totally in the clear. And I believe that was because he was ahead of program trading and Brilliant Birdie going into the far turn, coming out of the far turn, and had clear run at the leader, who was it Howard Wolowitz? That was up there. I think so. And Rhetorical was able to run them down. So when you have 1, 2, 3, right? Rhetorical, in my mind, makes sense looking back at it now, because he had first run and was going to get the jump on these other two. So is this a pick sheet? No, it is the furthest thing from a pick sheet. This is a snapshot of, in our estimation, based on our projections and the data that we gather, who's going to be running fastest early and who's going to be running fastest late. And again, I think this is a great example of Rhetorical, how you can tie that late fraction rank back to the first fraction rank and see who you think might get first run and get a jump on the late runners. And that is exactly what happened in this turf mile at Keeneland.
Oh, no matter what, there are certain places that are always the best place to be. And the Past the Wire annual Breeders' Cup seminar has always been one of them. And that's not going to change, but this year we're going to do things a little bit differently. Yes, it's all about winning and trying to win, and who gets the key to the AMG. So what are we going to do? We're going to make a concise PDF that covers everything we normally cover in our seminars. We're still going to blast out of that gate and try and finish fastest of all. We are going to drive this thing like a fine-tuned race car, covering everything that matters. And if things work out, we're going to need a machine to count all the money so we can do some shopping at Cartier and Louis Vuitton. And if we win this battle, our significant others are going to look like this and be awfully happy. The first ever Past the Wire annual Breeders' Cup report, a PDF specifically for you, and a private Q&A as well for everybody who rides with us. All right, pace points, spot on. It's not something that's designed to pick winners. It's a tool, something like, Thorograph is a tool, a much more involved tool, but pace points is really good. Lack of a better term, as a pace projector using raw fractions and some other intangibles and stats and things that we plugged in there, and really what it's going to do is tell you who's fastest early, who's going to be running fast early, and who's who's going to be running fastest late. And you apply that to your handicapping like we do anything else that we look at. So that's that. Check it out. We had a lot of free ones on the site, and we still do offer some free ones every once in a while. So but it's not expensive at all to buy a card and check it out and see what you think. Again, saves me a lot of time handicapping, because I do a lot of work with replays and pace and whatnot. I think that old saying that we all are familiar with, pace makes the race, is very true. So with that, we're going to move to Thorograph. The Thorograph numbers and patterns have been really, really spot on. I think there's one race I messed up in the summer, but other than that, they've really been dynamite. this week we're going to do the QE2 from Keeneland. And I haven't looked at the numbers yet, so I don't know what we're going to see. But I picked that race because it's usually a really good race. It's an interesting race. Sometimes I pick races because I think there's a lesson or something in there that we're going to see, that we're going to, learn from or get something out of. But this I just picked because it's a good race. It's a big race, and I always like watching the QE2, so I figured we'd go through the numbers. And again, it's the kind of race where we're going to have, our work cut out for us. We're going to have a lot of, fast gals and, good patterns, but we expect that. And we've dealt with it before successfully, so we ain't worried about that. We eat that kind of stress for breakfast. Speaking of stress, have to thank everybody that's got involved. Our Breeders' Cup seminar, the response has been literally overwhelming. I'm super impressed with the support. So now, not that it always has not been a pressure situation for me, it's a pressure cooker, but I really want to have a good one. So, a lot of work for me, but nobody can guarantee we're going to win. That's that. We all know that. But I guarantee we're going to take some hard shots on horses, some hard shots against horses, and we're going to have some, exciting, ballsy, excuse my language, gutsy plays and opportunities. And we ain't going to be afraid of any of them. But most of you know that I play, like a savage, aggressively, no hedging, no boxing, no, none of that. But we'll get into all of that at the seminar. But now we got the QE2 at Keeneland to try and decipher. So we'll get right into it. And again, like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit fast, but if you listen faster, I will not have to slow down so you can catch up, which I guess will be a help for all of us. Okay. We're on the lawn in Lexington. Here we go. Lush Lips. Always liked this one, and she's pretty good. Wasn't all that at 2, 21, 15 and a quarter, 24 and 3/4, 11. So she kind of got, a little better in the end of her 2-year-old season after she laid off a little bit. But she came back at Gulfstream, and she developed a nice little pattern. Fast enough to win, we'll see. But she comes back with an 11. She equals the best number. Goes to 9 and a quarter. Goes to 9, goes to 7 and a quarter, goes to 7 3/4, now comes over to Keeneland. So what do we got? We got 11, 9, 9, 7, 7, gradual climbing. 9, 9, 7, 7. I love that. I think she's got a forward moving pattern. I think she's probably looking at like a 5 or 4, something in that vicinity. And I think that's a nice pattern. Is it going to be good enough to win? Let's find out. Laurelyn, I think this is the undefeated one from Graham Motion. What do we got with her? 2-year-old, 12 3/4, 10 and a half. 3-year-old, climbing that ladder the way that we like, really good. 9 and a quarter, 8 and a half, 6 and a half. So she's got that slow, steady progression that we like. She's a little bit ahead of Lush Lips as far as the 6 to the 7. And she hasn't paired and then paired again. She's just steadily said, I'm a little faster, I'm a little faster, I'm a little faster. I think we're going to see that again with Laurelyn. So at a 6 and a half, I'm projecting, 2, 3, 4 points forward. Puts her at the head of the class so far in the 3, maybe even the 2 range in my book. And if she runs faster than that, I wouldn't be surprised. If she runs slower than that, I would be surprised. Which brings us to simmering. what do we got with Simmering? Simmering had a bunch of starts at 2, 16, 10 3/4, 11 1/2, 9 3/4, 9 3/4, 11 1/4. Nothing fast enough and nothing in the pattern jumps out that says she's going to come and beat these first two fillies we looked at anyway. As a 3-year-old, what do we got? We got 14 1/4, boom, 7 1/2. Regresses 12 3/4, regresses 17 1/4, boom, comes back with a 7 1/2 at Doyle in France. She regressed off the 7 last time. I would tend to think coming to this country off that race, she's probably going to regress again. One of the races I got wrong, El Cordobes, the Godolphin horse, fooled me. He came here and got better, and his pattern was not suggestive of that to me. I was wrong on that one. The numbers weren't. I may be wrong on this one too. The numbers aren't. So I think regression. I think not fast enough. I don't like the pattern coming into the race. That's my interpretation. It might not be yours. And this a very similar scenario happened once before and got me. So beware, be leery. But if you're following along with me, the bouncing ball, I don't like what I'm seeing with that one. Daisy Flyer. As a 2-year-old, we got 20, 14, 15 1/4. Not fast enough. Nothing indicating going to be fast enough. But does improve at 3, 9 1/2, 9, 12 1/4. I don't see a forward moving pattern. I see 2 faster races than she ran at 2, a little bit of regression. I see her sticking in the vicinity of the 12. So we got 2 we like and 2 we don't. Opulent Restraint. This is a filly I always thought, before I look at her numbers, always look like she has more, and we haven't seen it yet. So let's see what her pattern says. 14 3/4, 14, 10 as a 2-year-old. So she got, she started out okay, not all that, nothing to write home about. But then she ran a respectable 10. Got a bunch in here that ran 9, so it's not, she's not setting the world on fire. But what do we got after that? We got 10 1/4 at 3, 9, 8, 8 1/4. So we got 10, 9, and the paired 8s, 8, 8. Even though the second 8 is a little bit tad slower than the first. So 10, 9, 8, 8. Slow, steady progression. She's got more to do and more to progress than some of the others that we like, but she does have a forward moving pattern, and she's got something going for her that maybe the others don't. Not to knock, Brendan Walsh and Graham Motion at all, but Chad Brown's kind of in a different league than some of these guys, especially with these kind of horses. This is Peter Brantwell, his wife. His wife's horse, bred out of a mare, significant form that she owned. Really, really bred to the gills. So dangerous. Has more to do than the other 2, but on the live list in my book. Candy Quest. Not a lot of starts at 2, but certainly made up for it thus far at 3. At 2, we got 11 1/2. At 3, we got 14 1/2, 10 3/4, 10 1/2, 10 1/2, 10 3/4, 9, and then decides that, you know what, I like Kentucky Downs at 6 1/2. I like it. I'm going to say those steady races, she jumped forward. Now, I like it. But I think we may have already seen, I like that those steady numbers and that little steady progression and those like steady repeats and paired and even 3 times. Once it's 4, I kind of shy away. But maybe we saw, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but maybe we saw the forward move and that's it. So this one I'm on the fence on. I like it, but I'm not sold either way. I'm not sold she's going to go forward, and I'm not sold she's going to regress. May run the same. So this one is the toughest one in the bunch for me to decipher at this point. So we'll see. But, you know, gun to my head, I'm glad I don't have one. But if you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say we saw the forward move, and now we're going to get a little bit of aggression, maybe another 6, maybe a 7. So I'm going to go that route. That's kind of my gut talking as much as my reading of the patterns. But hey, you got to trust your gut in this game, or you ain't got nothing. Destino D'Oro, I apologize. Started out a little bit better than some of the others, but it's a Brad Cox horse. So, you know, that's not all that surprising, is it? 9.5, 10. Comes back, goes forward, 8 3/4, 7 3/4, regresses to a 10. Now, normally I would say, you know what? She come back fast. She got faster. Ran those 2 fast races and regressed. And I'm still going to lean that way. But there's a caveat here. That race was at Kentucky Downs. Maybe she just didn't like that over the hills, far away, and round the bend kind of racetrack. You know, that European-style course. Kentucky Downs is a tricky, tough place. Some horses just don't like it. Maybe she's one of them. Could be an excuse. So if she jumps up and runs, you know, a faster race, and she's lightly raced, so it's possible, and it's Brad Cox. We all know what Brad Cox can do with a horse. Salute. We all know, you know, he's deadly. If you're betting horses and you don't know Brad Cox is deadly, you're going to be sleeping in the park pretty soon. But, you know, you got to call it the way you see it. I don't know that it was the Kentucky Downs that did that, so I'm going to say, you know, based on the pattern alone, I don't like the pattern. I like the fact that she came back faster than she left from 2 to 3. But at 3-year-old, she went, you know, 8, 7, 10. Even at 2, she went 9, 10. So she went the wrong way twice. I'm going to go on the nay side of that one. Will Then runs at 2, 23.25, and then a vet scratch. So she's not off to the greatest start. But you know what? Then she runs at Woodbine and runs a 12 3/4, goes to Del Mar, 8.5, comes back as a 3-year-old, 8.5, 8.5, regresses off those to a 10, now goes back to the 8.5. So I see a likely regression, or maybe possibly another pad 8, but more likely a regression. But I don't see a forward move that she's sitting on. So there's another nay. Fionn. Looks like at a glance, the fastest of the bunch thus far. Another one from our friend Brad Cox at 2, 14.25, and then 12.5. So she started out okay, got a little bit faster, but she comes back at 3. And what do we got? We got 10.5, faster than the 2-year-old number. Good sign. 10 3/4, 9 3/4, 7 1/4, 6, 5 3/4. She's getting faster every time she runs, and not that big jump, just a little bit. So she, I think, is going to go forward off that 5 3/4, which puts her at a 3, a 2, or even maybe a 1. Head of the class? Looks like it, right? Looks like it. So going back, Fionn, we're looking at probably a forward move and probably somewhere in the 2 or 1 range on Thoroughraph at the end of this race. Will Then, I vote no. Destino D'Oro, I vote no. Candy Quest, that was the one I had trouble with, but in the end, I voted no. Opulent Restraint, I voted maybe. Yeah, she's on the list. Daisy Flyer, I said no. Simmering, I said no. Laurelin, I said yes. Now Laurelin and Fionn are, you know, the two that have the least amount of forward move to make. Excuse, I'm not saying that as grammatically correct and as in good English as I should be saying, but I think you all know what I mean. Those two have, they're a little faster than everybody else so far, so they don't have that much to do. But Fionn's a little bit faster than her, so she's looking at a 3, most likely, where the other one might be looking at a 2. So narrow nod, numbers and patterns to Fionn, but this filly's never lost yet. So toss up, toss up, toss up. Brings us to Lush Lips on the Rail, who is not a little behind, but not that far behind. So, Laura Lynn and Fionn, probably the fastest two right now for sure, and probably both going to run a little bit faster. And Lush Lips and Opulent Restraint look like the two that could jump up and give them a tussle and kind of, I don't want to really say upset because I don't see no bombs here, but those are the ones I think can step up and give the other two most likely a tussle. So that's how I see the QE2 by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. What we will do, we will go back and now do the rest of the homework, watch some replays, take some notes, look at our old notes from these races, look at the PPs, look at the pace, look at pace points, and see where we wind up. So that's that. Shout out to Tampa Bay Downs. Their meet's coming up. Tampa Bay Downs is really a underrated meet. A lot of the top Gulfstream turf trainers, people think they send their second stringers to Tampa. It's a phenomenal turf course. Gulfstream's turf course is a little iffy. They actually send the first stringers to Tampa Bay Downs. A lot of people don't know that. They think it's the opposite way, and it's not. 100 years of racing. What I would love to see, love it, because I love the people at Tampa. I like the place. I think, like I said, it's underrated. And who knows? It may wind up the only thoroughbred track in Florida with this decoupling bullshit and everything else that's going on. So who knows? But Tampa Bay Downs, 100 years. I'd love to see them get another Tampa Bay Derby winner or even a Sam Davis winner win the Kentucky Derby on their 100th anniversary. That would be really special for them. They deserve it. I would love to see it. It'd be really cool. And you never know. Strange things happen in horse racing. So with that, check out Pace Points. If you do not have a seat and a reservation to get the seminar, Breeders' Cup PDF, and the live interactive Q&A with yours truly, where I will answer any question about anything on the PDF or anything on the Breeders' Cup, and we'll really get into some nuts and bolts. Grab one. You can get it. I'll put a link here. You can go to PastorWire.com, get it there. Ask somebody who knows. You can find out through them. So there's a lot of ways to get here. Ride with us. You'll never starve. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to take some shots. And thank you all for watching another episode of Past the Wire TV. We appreciate you all. Hit the like button and show some love and support. We appreciate it and we need it. I don't think we're going to make 10,000 subscribers for the Breeders' Cup like I hoped. That would have been really special, but what are you going to do? We're not for everybody. We don't play for the cheap seats. So it is what it is. But we got over 8,000 and, we started with none. So that's not bad. And some of our shows get as many views as people that got 50,000 subscribers. So we can live with that. But hit the like button. It helps with the algorithms on YouTube for sure. And leave a comment who you like in the QE2 and what races you want to see me do coming up to the Breeders' Cup, and if there's any special Breeders' Cup races you want me to do aside from the seminar, just the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns on, put it in the comments and I'll see if I can make it happen. I can't promise that, but I could try. If you don't ask, the answer is definitely no. And that's it. So hope everybody has a great evening. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Let's make some money, tracking trips. Had a couple of really good days to start the Keeneland meet. Eddie C is doing the notebook picks for Keeneland like he did for Saratoga. Gio was doing it for a couple of days. He's not doing it. But a lot going on, a lot coming up. Excited about the Breeders' Cup. This year, I think, is going to be a special one. But we still got a month to go. So let's try and pay those bankrolls. Ciao, ciao.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final for sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Serious about horse racing or want to improve your game and level of play, or perhaps gain an edge without hours of work, you have to look at pace points. Pace makes the race, and projecting the race flow is invaluable for making smarter wagers. Pace Points is an accurate pace projection tool based on real-time fractions along with intangibles down to things like jockey tendencies and additional factors like post position, track condition, and more. Pace Points will help you identify who will be in front early and which horses will be running fastest late. If a race looks like there is a lot of speed, who will be the most likely leader? These are the types of things Pace Points highlight in an easy-to-read and understand format. If you want a better chance of winning, why wouldn't you want this at your fingertips? Pace Points, learn more, try it out, and have a better grasp of the races.
Sure, bad coffee.
Are they talking about us? Shh. Wait. Are they talking about us? I think I heard Past the Wire. Past the Wire TV. They are talking about us. Often imitated, never duplicated. We are everywhere.
Seriously? If you're betting horses and not watching these shows, you gotta be freaking crazy. Capiche?
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
And ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to the winner's circle for a very special presentation. Representatives from Handicapping for Horses, along with professional handicapper Jonathan Stetton, are proud to support the work of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Accepting the check for the inaugural Handicapping for Horses event this past summer at Saratoga are representatives from the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Gulfstream Park welcomes Michael Blowen, Jonathan Stetton, Kelly Scobie, Jim Rhodes here this afternoon. Since 2012, the TAA has awarded more than $17.2 million to accredited organizations. Handicapping for Horses looks to make their Saratoga Springs event larger and raise money for Thoroughbreds Aftercare year after year. Once again, thank you to Handicapping for Horses, Jonathan Stetton, and welcome to Old Friends and our friends at the TAA. The Rainbow Six and race number 5 up next.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
Doppelgangers, the longest shot of the field.
A dynasty in motion, reshaping the sport's greatest tradition, channeling the legends of his line and surpassing them. 4 of the last 6 Derby winners carry his genes. A Golden Son, a Horse of the Year. Another chapter written beneath those iconic spires. Derby dreams fulfilled for the titans of our industry. From authentic to sovereignty, a legacy both real and supreme. Into mischief.
Hi everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final for sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
It's not a matter of getting down. How low can you go? Nobody does it better.